All right, right now I'm going to unbox this new edition of the bullet journal, the official bullet journal, and I'm going to compare it to the Lectern 1917 sketchbook that is the basic version of this. That's not an actual official bullet journal made by the same company and everything like that, so that you can actually compare them, because the prices are definitely not the same. This official bullet journal one, despite all these features right here, or because of all these features, definitely has a more expensive price. So let's get right into it. It comes obviously wrapped in plastic, which protects it, which is nice because these can get worn out a little bit from wear and tear, but the cover material is pretty good, and I think that cover material is probably going to be basically the same. Lectern, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it is a German company that has been around since 1917, as the name suggests. And the official bullet journal chose that company because they liked it best, supposedly. So you can read all about the history, and when you get the one straight from Lectern, they always come with a bunch of the history. And one of the things that I like is their motto is Denken mit der Hand, which means thinking on paper. I think that's really cool. So let's get into it. Obviously it comes with, it's embossed here on the front, which is kind of nice. It feels to me like the surface is basically the same as the original ones. It has the elastic band to keep it closed. Unfortunately, these tend to at a certain point in time, they will kind of just lose their elasticity. I have some old moleskins, for example, that have just completely lost that part, and that's unfortunate, but it does tend to last for as long as you're journaling. So this should last for a couple years. Hopefully you're journaling enough where you'll actually finish the notebook in a year. Okay, so let's take this out. It describes, this is actually, really fancy looking little insert thing here. So let's take it off. It talks about all of the features. There's a companion app. This might be a little bit overwhelming to some people, especially if you're completely new to bullet journaling. You might want to, oh look, there's a whole grid guide and page dividers. You might want to dedicate a whole day to just looking at this. It looks like it comes in 28 plus languages. This is all the, the original bullet journal template stuff from Ryder Carroll, I believe is the name of the originator. Here it says it's been featured in all these fancy publications, from the New York Times to Vogue and Wall Street Journal. So let's take this part out because it's kind of annoying. I'm definitely not going to check the app right now. One of the reasons why I like bullet journaling is it's not digital, and as soon as you start looking online on YouTube, you just get overwhelmed by all of the bullet journaling stuff on there. So it looks like there's a lot of this is going to be found inside, so I'm not even going to read all of the features from here right now. Obviously it says it's built for bullet journaling. This is heavier paper, so it's 120 GSM. Supposedly this is heavier than it used to be. That's one of the new features. And yeah, there's a whole bunch in here about the, there's 3 bookmarks, which the regular notebooks from this company that this one is based off of, they only have 2. I found 3. I thought the idea was really cool, but it was a little bit confusing. There's 200 pages, and it says that it's sustainably sourced paper. I hope so. Let's look inside the actual bullet journal here. You can see here's all that. Wow, this looks really technical. I love the copper ink though. That's really pretty. Maybe that is worth the $10 extra just for that. This looks super technical for people who love that in their bullet journaling. I think that's why some people get into it. This will be great. I don't know if it's like an OCD thing or what, but if you look online at bullet journaling, you can see people have a very strong aesthetic, and it's very precise. So this seems cool, the overlap between what and why. So here's the basics of bullet journaling if you don't know already. And I kind of, you can make your own symbols basically, but here is a key where you can make these symbols, and this is where the name originally came from, is the fact that the pages have bullets. It's bulleted paper, so you can get that without buying the bullet journal version. So here you can see one of my old ones, and this one has bulleted paper as well, right? See the bulleted paper? You can see that the ink is coming through quite a bit on this paper here. So with bullet journaling, you have not only that bulleted paper, the paper feels a lot smoother. I kind of don't like the way it just feels to my hand, but this is probably for better ink resistance, less bleeding, but it doesn't, it has a very, very smooth feel, whereas this one has a little bit more of a natural paper feel to it. This is probably a coating that helps with ink, but right now, feeling wise, I like it a little bit less. Feels a little bit less natural, but if it works better, that might be worth it. So here's the basic system. You know, one bullet is for a task. An X is when the task has been completed. You can turn the bullet into an arrow to the right for a migrated task, to the left for task scheduled. It's crossed out for irrelevant. This means it's a note, this is an event, and this is a priority. You can make your own, and you could spend forever coming up with all these symbols, but I recommend starting slowly and because it can become, you can create too crazy of a system, and then if you never end up doing it, it's pointless. These pages have all been designated already for an index. This is the future log, which is one of the characteristics of bullet journaling, and after that they're just empty pages. So starting on page 12, you've got these empty pages, and as I pointed out before, they do have these grids here, which helps you lay out the pages quickly. And these are things that some people prefer to measure these all on their own. For those people, you probably just want to get something like this, the regular lectern sketchbook, that it has like a few theme pages at the beginning, but for the most part, even starting on page 1, you just have blank pages all the way through. So you can see here I left space for an index, and I never, or something like that, and I never did it. Sometimes I just need to jump into my bullet journaling and not do some complicated system. So knowing yourself is very useful when it comes to bullet journaling. So let's skip through here and see what else we find. Here are those 3 bookmarks. So they're different colors, which is cool, and you can use one to keep your place where you're at. Oh, they're stuck together. That's not perfect. But they didn't get frayed when I tore them apart, so that's good. So one of these can be like, for example, you can keep one of these in your index. You could keep one in your future log. And then the other one could be wherever you're at. So like once you get this far into it. It supposedly lays flat. Let's test it. It's not laying flat totally right now. It just closed all by itself. But if you push down on it, I did read on the Lectern website, they actually have a video, I believe, on a system for going through and how you're supposed to go through, and you do like this certain folding thing every like 3 pages, and you can go through your whole, and supposedly this makes the binding last longer. See how it did that just really quickly right now? I think there's a system for how you can go through here and do this in a way that doesn't damage the binding, the spine of the book as much. You kind of like pre-fold these. So this is a lot of pages. This is a commitment, and I think one of the problems about bullet journaling and a lot of these other journals, when you go to the bookstore, you see all of these different types of journals. Sometimes people get the the reward, the dopamine reward, when they buy this thing. They tell themselves, oh, now I'm going to get organized. I'm going to start using this amazing system. I'm going to start bullet journaling. They see pictures on Instagram. They decide they're going to start doing this, and then they buy it. And as soon as they buy it, they get the feeling like as if they did something already, but they haven't done anything except buy something. And so be realistic with yourself. This is a lot of pages. It's very possible that you'll just buy this and not actually do it. So try to be self-aware. Try to create a system that's not too overwhelming or intimidating. So let's see what's in the back. After 206 pages, we get into, well, this 206 one is probably just a sacrificial one because it's stuck quite a bit onto this black paper here. Here's the code again. I'm skeptical about this kind of stuff because one of the things when I'm journaling, bullet journaling or otherwise, I don't want to start looking on my phone and going online because it can be quite overwhelming. So let's see what they have here. This looks like stickers. Usually these stickers that come with moleskins, for example, I just immediately throw out because they're pretty lame. These look like they're higher quality, but I'm noticing some printing defects in these copper stickers on the lightning bolts. There's some printing defects on those. These could all be symbols that you use. I probably will never use these. This, I think, is to simplify creating these calendars. It's been a while since I followed the actual bullet journaling technique, but like for every month you create this micro calendar right here. So see how these strips, there's 12 of these, I'm assuming, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 for each month. And these are stickers. This is pretty cool because writing all these numbers down can be annoying, even though I know a lot of people like to customize this part. For some people, especially beginners, this could be useful. So you can take this out right here and you would put it there, and then you just have your simplified month right there. Similarly, you have a week one, and look here, you got all the months already. This is in English, by the way, so that's interesting to notice. And then right here you would have the weeks. So these go, oh, this is interesting. So it looks like these go potentially for the whole month here as well, but by week. And then there you can put little things for planning your the days of the week. And I found that this system, basically what you're doing is you're creating like a hierarchy of months and weeks and days, and being able to see your time, your year, from a month level, or from the year level, the month level, and the week level. That can be a really powerful way to help you understand and plan your year. So I think this could actually be valuable. I will try using it. If you don't like the font, you're screwed. If you don't use English months or days, you're also screwed, even though supposedly it says here it's available in multiple languages. If you would rather customize all this stuff yourself, you obviously can. So I'll just set that aside. This looks pretty cool back here. This insert, it looks like there's a whole notebook or guide inserted into here. Ooh, yeah, I really like that because that means I don't have to go online for the system. So here you can see all of these different elements. This is the part I was talking about, like the monthly log. That's what those stickers are for. And it gives you, this is really, really good actually. This is quality, and this is easily worth $10. So here you can see the entire system of why it works, and it starts with the intention behind it. So I love that. The goal of Bujo is to help you live a more intentional life by keeping your actions aligned with your beliefs. That is a great purpose. Here it describes how to set up, this is like a example index, how to use the index. It was always hard for me. I would fall behind with indexing. I would journal and then I wouldn't go back and add to the index. So that's a little bit tricky, but do your best. Here is how to set up your future log part and your monthly log. This is where you would be sticking in those those days and days of the month. And here's just the big picture stuff of what needs to be done, the task list. This is a timeline, that's the task list. Daily log, this is the way that it's recommended to do the actual daily log. Here you can see those specific symbols again. Here's an example. This is actually really well done, the way that this is showing you how it works. I like that. This makes it really easy to follow. So if you're completely new to bullet journaling, I think this is actually going to be pretty good. Okay, now here's the whole part that can get complicated with like migrating. This is something that never quite worked for me, maybe because I didn't get in the practice of doing this once a month. It's a whole system of what to do with things and whether or not they're vital, and how to, this is basically it's basically like an advanced checklist. So if you make checklists and then never do them and then you feel bad about it, this could be a good technique for you, and it's a way to move those things forward. And then finally, it has a pocket here, so you could put in extra things. Like for example, I have these double stick tape right here from, these are really nice, from, what is it? Hobonichi double stick tape. Hobonichi double stick tape. So I'm going to put these here in the back. And let's see, I think I'll probably throw this away. I don't need the whole thing about, here's the whole thing about the lectern books, the sizes, the paper, all of the different versions, even though it doesn't describe this particular one because it's a special custom one. So throw that away. And yeah, I think it's a pretty good, I think it's an improvement over the last version of this bullet journal. I think that especially this feature right here is really useful. Oh, and this is removable too, so that's good. This feature right here is basically like a good jumpstart way to get into it without going online, because once you go on YouTube and Instagram looking at bullet journal stuff, you're going to be very overwhelmed, and I think this is actually a good way to get started instead with just a little book, because I think when you're journaling, one of the benefits is not going online. For example, here it has like the Pinterest. Once you go on there on Pinterest and look at bullet journal, you're going to be immediately overwhelmed. If you look up any of the hashtags bullet journal or Bujo, you're going to be overwhelmed. And some people do that for inspiration. They say it's for inspiration, but it's really easy to get intimidated and lost and not really use it for what the original purpose is once you start looking at other people's content online. So I recommend just using the actual thing that's in here, the little guide that's in here. Don't scan to learn more, and just start filling pages and start trying to use it in a way that's practical for you. So I'll probably make a few more videos as I try to start up a bullet journaling practice again. Lately I've been actually just, here's a really crappy journal that I got while I was in Ecuador because I couldn't find anything better. But I've basically just been doing a variety of daily journaling practices that I sort of just make up, writing in notes, some sketches, maps, things like that. More sketches, as you can see, lots of just freehand sketching, and my basic morning practice journaling, which includes gratitude, a little bit of affirmations and things like that. And this has just been free form for me, but I wanted to come back to bullet journaling and try it again. Let's see how the paper performs. This is a water-soluble brush pen by Pilot with gray ink. I really like the gray ink, and I'm going to just test using some of the lines here. And using some of these guide lines. They have these little, or guide dots, to create lines here. The ink looks pretty good on there, I would say. Let's see how much it bled through. You can still see it through. I don't know if that's actually much better than the last generation of these. You might want a ruler, or you could use the very same book that's in the back here as a ruler. That would probably work. It looks like the staples are on this side, so that won't work there, but you could use this. Otherwise, you might want to always have a ruler with you. A small ruler could probably fit in one of these back pockets. People who do bullet journaling tend to have some level of OCD, so get a ruler if you need it and just put it in this back pocket. It should be fine. I think there are little plastic rulers you can get that are about that size. You could probably make your own, but it seems to do fine with this ink. Let's try another ink. This is some carbon ink, and I'll put it into a fountain pen to see. I know some people like to use fountain pens, or would like a fountain pen for their bullet journaling. This is the Fude Demanen. It's a great fountain pen. It has 2 angles on the nib, so you can get wide and thinner lines. I'm using the carbon ink because it's not water soluble, and I'm using this converter right here. You can see, I'll put links in the description below. If you're fine with water soluble ink, there are cartridges. Am I running out of ink already? It kind of sounded like it was running out of ink. Sometimes I do watercolor over it, so that's why I like the waterproof ink. Unfortunately, the cartridges or the converter like that I have hold a lot less ink than the cartridges, so you have to refill ink more frequently. At first that freaked me out, but I traveled in the tropics in South America for a year carrying this jar of ink, and it was fine. It's not really that hard to change. See, I barely even got any ink on my hand, and I only needed one little paper towel. At first, I used to get like a huge roll of paper towel and really freak out about it each time. So let's test this out on the bullet journal. I'm gonna just use this as a test page. Oh, there's some ink dust coming off of there. So one thing about the Fude Demanen, when you use the wide side, it is possible for the ink to pool up, especially on paper like this that has that sort of less absorbent layer. So it feels really smooth. I personally like a little bit more of a natural texture feeling, even just the way it feels on my hand, like I mentioned before. But it does seem like it's holding the ink fine. This ink right here where I did the thicker line, like if I were using that for my margins, or if I was using that for lettering, for example, I'm gonna have to wait for that ink to dry. You can see it pooling up there. You can see that it is pooling up, and I will have to wait for that to dry. Actually, that went pretty well. That's already mostly dry. It's just in the places where I stopped the pen a little bit. So you can see that if you use heavy ink on it, you might need to wait a second before you can turn the page. But let's just quickly look over here. It doesn't come through that much. So I do think this is probably an improvement over, let's look at the regular lectern paper. You can see here the same ink, how much it comes through, and maybe it's kind of similar. It's relatively, it's actually surprisingly similar. This paper feels like it would be able to handle the ink less, but I actually think it comes through almost the same amount. So I don't really notice that big a difference, even though it says that this paper is better for ink. I don't really notice that much difference in how much the ink comes through. The main difference I notice is what it feels like on my hand, and I actually like the feeling of the old paper better. That being said, it looks like it will work fine for multiple types of ink. I probably won't use pencil on this. I like bullet journaling in ink instead. Let me try one more pen. This is a Tombow pen. I know people like these for bullet journaling. They come in a lot of different colors. This is a very pale one. I like the pale. You know, this actually, I feel like works better on this paper. This one does feel pretty good on this particular paper. So if you like Tombow pens for adding some color, this paper will probably work pretty well for that. I'm not going to test watercolor right now, but I will eventually use watercolor. And let's see, what else could we test on here? Oh yeah, let's do one other thing. Let's try a really heavy, let's try a paint pen. These come in silver, which is really nice, so if you want to use any metallic stuff. I do have a gold pen somewhere that I will probably be using in here. These you can actually use for writing on the cover. Posca paint pens, I'll put them in the description. And there's also some silver pens that could be really fun to, if you like to be a little bit more crazy. A lot of the bullet journal stuff is very austere. Writer Carol obviously has like an austere aesthetic, but if you like something a little bit more flamboyant, these paint pens would be a great way to personalize your cover. So you can see it pools up as well. It's an opaque ink, so this would go over anything else on this page. It looks fine on the other side, and it will just take a second to dry, but these paint pens always take a second to dry. So that's a pretty diverse ink test that we did on this bullet journal paper. And it seems like it holds up. It doesn't have, like I said, it has a very smooth sort of synthetic feel, which I'll probably get used to, but it's not my favorite. But other than that, it seems like it holds ink, multiple types of ink, pretty well. So that's my review of the new bullet journal, official bullet journal by Lectern.